Silent strength. The Galactic Empire's survey vessel, Starseeker, drifted lazily in high Earth orbit, its sensors gathering what its crew considered routine data about yet another unremarkable civilization. Captain Vextor, a tall crystalline being from the Empire's core worlds, stared at the holographic display with 6 of his eyes, while his remaining 2 focused on administrative reports. Another primitive industrial world, he muttered, his crystalline form reflecting the soft blue light of Earth below. Barely achieved lunar landing capability, still burning hydrocarbons, logged as Category 3. Limited potential. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the Empire vessel through quantum-linked sensors that by all known physics shouldn't exist. The massive underwater facility, Deep Forge Alpha, hummed with energy as thousands of scientists and engineers worked on humanity's secret weapon. The air crackled with possibility and fear. "They're scanning us again," her colleague Dr. James Rodriguez reported, dark eyes fixed on streams of data flowing across curved displays. "But the quantum shields are holding. All they're seeing is what we want them to see." Sarah nodded, her hand unconsciously touching the ancient artifact suspended in a containment field behind them. They'd found it 3 years ago, buried 2 miles beneath the Antarctic ice. A perfect cube, 10 centimeters on each side, made of an impossible material that seemed to flicker in and out of reality. The artifact had changed everything. It hadn't given them advanced technology. No, humanity had done that themselves. What it had given them was a hint, a glimpse of what was possible. The proof that the fundamental laws of physics as they knew them were merely guidelines. Project Prometheus status? Sarah asked, turning to face the massive construction bay visible through the reinforced windows. There, suspended in a cradle of energy fields, floated humanity's first true starship. "Final quantum core calibration at 97%, James replied. "The Empire's presence is actually helping. We're using their scan patterns to refine our stealth systems." The ship was beautiful, but not in any conventional sense. Its hull seemed to twist in impossible ways, its surface a dark material that absorbed all light. Traditional engines were conspicuously absent. They weren't needed when you could manipulate the quantum fabric of space itself. Dr. Chen, a young researcher, burst into the command center, tablet clutched in shaking hands. "The artifact. It's responding to the ship." Sarah rushed to the containment field. The cube was pulsing now, patterns of light racing across its surface in sequences that matched the quantum core's activation patterns. As they watched, symbols began appearing in the air above it, hanging like golden fire. "It's not just a proof of concept," Sarah whispered, eyes wide as she recognized mathematical equations in the floating symbols. "It's a key." Above them, Captain Vextor was preparing to leave Earth's system, having logged another disappointing evaluation. His ship's sensors had detected nothing unusual, exactly as intended. He had no way of knowing that humanity had not only mastered quantum technology, but had surpassed the Empire's understanding of it. As the Starseeker disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Sarah made a decision. "Begin full activation sequence," she ordered. "It's time to show the Empire that they've made a serious mistake in underestimating Earth." The quantum core hummed to life, its energy signature masked by technology that shouldn't exist for another 1,000 years by the Empire's estimations. But humanity had always excelled at doing the impossible, at making leaps of intuition that bypassed centuries of gradual development. In the construction bay, the prototype ship systems came online one by one. Its name appeared on the hull in letters that seemed to shift between dimensions. QES Prometheus. Quantum Exploration. Ship Prometheus. Humanity's first step into a much larger universe. As Sarah watched the final preparations, she thought about the message they decoded from the artifact weeks ago. A warning, not from aliens, but from humans. Humans from a possible future, who had found a way to send information back through time itself. The message was simple: the Empire must fall, or humanity falls. Choose wisely. They had chosen. Now it was time to act. "Begin Phase 2, Sarah commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of what they were about to attempt. "The Empire thinks they've seen everything humanity is capable of. Let's show them how wrong they are." In orbit, automated satellites quietly adjusted their positions. Deep beneath every major city, quantum transmitters powered up. And in the depths of the Pacific, humanity's greatest achievement prepared to rise from the depths, carrying with it the hopes of not just Earth, but countless oppressed civilizations across the galaxy. The Empire's routine survey was about to trigger the greatest upheaval in galactic history, and for once, humanity would be the ones writing the rules. The awakening. The Empire's return came sooner than expected. Not one survey ship this time, but a fleet of 7 blade-shaped warships that cut through hyperspace with predatory grace. Their arrival scattered birds across every continent, a side effect of their crude faster-than-light technology tearing holes in space-time. In Deep Forge Alpha, alarms blared. Sarah Chen stood before the global command interface, watching red dots multiply across the tactical display. Behind her, the ancient artifact pulsed with increasing intensity, its warnings now unmistakable. "Multiple Imperial signatures," James announced, his voice tense. "Their energy readings are off the charts. These aren't survey vessels, they're planet crackers." Sarah's jaw tightened. They know. Somehow, they detected something during the last scan. She turned to face the assembled command staff. "Begin Protocol Omega. Alert all facilities. The timeline has accelerated. Across Earth, hidden quantum transmitters activated. In underground bases, soldiers rushed to their posts. Humanity had hoped for more time, but they had prepared for this possibility. The Empire's arrival merely meant switching from rehearsal to performance. Above, Imperial Admiral Ktarketh stood on his flagship's command deck, his crystalline form now a deep red of barely contained rage. "The primitives have deceived us," he announced to his fleet commanders. "Our quantum arrays detected temporal anomalies during the last survey. They possess technology that should be impossible for their development level." His second in command, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate mechanical shell, spoke with a voice like crackling lightning. "The Emperor's orders are clear. Any civilization attempting to bypass the authorized development stages must be reset." In Deep Forge Alpha, Sarah watched as the QES Prometheus rose from its underwater berth, quantum shields deflecting millions of tons of water. The ship's impossible geometry seemed to twist reality around it, a visual representation of the barriers it was breaking. "All systems nominal," James reported. "Quantum core stable at 100%. Temporal shielding active." He paused, looking at Sarah. "We're really doing this, aren't we? Taking on the entire Empire." Sarah's response was cut short by a transmission from the Imperial fleet. Admiral Ktarketh's crystalline face filled the main screen, its facets reflecting murderous intent. "Primitive species of Earth," he began, his tone dripping with contempt. "You have violated Imperial law by developing unauthorized technology. Your punishment is extinction. You have one planetary rotation to surrender all quantum-based technology and accept immediate regression to pre-industrial status." Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady as she responded. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen of Earth. We reject your authority and your ultimatum. Humanity will no longer pretend to be less than we are." The Admiral's crystalline form flashed with color. "Then you choose extinction. Deploy the planet crackers." The Imperial ships began moving into position, their weapons charging with enough power to shatter Earth's crust. But Sarah smiled, an expression that caused the Admiral to pause. "Actually," she said, "we choose to show you what humanity is truly capable of." At her signal, the QES Prometheus revealed itself. The ship seemed to unfold from quantum space, its impossible geometry causing several Imperial sensors to overload. Before the Empire could react, the Prometheus executed its first combat maneuver. Reality twisted. Space itself seemed to bend around the Earth ship as it activated its quantum drive. In an instant, it was simultaneously in 7 different positions around the Imperial fleet, an impossibility that the Empire's computers couldn't process. "By the Emperor," Kharkith whispered, "what have they done?" The Prometheus fired, not conventional weapons, but concentrated bursts of quantum energy that didn't so much damage the Imperial ships as temporarily remove sections of them from reality. 2 destroyers simply ceased to exist, their atomic structure scattered across multiple quantum states. Impossible. The Admiral raged. No species at their development level could possibly. He stopped as new alarms blared. Across Earth, hidden facilities activated. More ships emerged, smaller than the Prometheus, but just as impossible. From beneath the oceans, from mountain bunkers, from camouflaged orbital platforms, humanity's real fleet revealed itself. Sarah's voice was calm as she addressed the Admiral again. "We gave you a chance to leave us in peace. You chose war. Now let us show you why the Empire should have looked more closely at Earth's history. We don't just fight wars, Admiral. We revolutionize warfare itself." The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries as the day the Empire learned fear. Their mighty fleet, capable of destroying planets, found itself outmaneuvered by ships that treated the laws of physics as polite suggestions. The Prometheus led the charge, its quantum weapons reducing Imperial technology to their component atoms. But in the midst of victory, Sarah felt a deep unease. The artifact's warnings were growing stronger, its symbols now showing patterns she'd never seen before. This battle wasn't the end. It was merely the beginning of something much larger. As the remaining Imperial ships fled, leaving their command vessel a quantum-scattered wreck, Sarah turned to James. "Send word to all facilities. Operation Awakening is now active." She looked at the artifact, its pulsing now synchronized with Earth's quantum network. The Empire won't take this humiliation lightly. They'll return with everything they have. James nodded, understanding the implications. "Then we'll be ready." The sleeping giant isn't just awake, it's evolved. In quantum space, the equations hum like fire. Humanity's next step was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Breaking chains. 2 weeks after Earth's victory over the Imperial fleet, Sarah Chen stood in a chamber that shouldn't exist, studying a hologram that depicted impossible things. The artifact, now permanently linked to the Prometheus's quantum core, projected a map of the galaxy unlike anything humanity had ever seen. "These aren't just travel routes," she murmured, watching lines of golden light pulse between stars. "They're quantum entanglement pathways. The Empire hasn't been using crude hyperspace technology. They'd been using a controlled network of quantum tunnels." James Rodriguez approached, his face illuminated by the hologram's glow. "And look at these nodes." He pointed to dark spots in the network. "Dead zones. Worlds where the Empire's control suddenly goes dark." "Like Earth will be," a new voice added. Both scientists turned to face Admiral Helena Santos, the newly appointed commander of Earth's quantum fleet. Her dark uniform bore the symbol of the Prometheus, a phoenix rendered in lines that seemed to shift between dimensions. "Latest intelligence from our quantum probes confirms it," Helena continued. "The Empire is mobilizing everything. 50 capital ships, hundreds of destroyers. They're calling it the Purification Fleet." Sarah's attention returned to the hologram, where a massive concentration of Imperial forces pulsed like an angry red wound in a quantum network. "How long?" 3 days. Helena's expression hardened. "But that's not the worst news." "Show her, James." James activated another hologram, this one showing data streams from quantum sensors scattered throughout the solar system. "We're detecting temporal distortions, massive ones. The Empire isn't just bringing ships, they're trying to alter the timeline itself." In orbit above Earth, the Prometheus maintained its vigilant watch. The ship's quantum core hummed with new understanding, its systems evolving as it processed data from the artifact. Across its impossible surface, Equations wrote and rewrote themselves as humanity's first true AI, born from quantum mathematics, grew in complexity. Captain Maya Chen, Sarah's younger sister and the Prometheus's commanding officer, watched Earth rotate below. Status of the quantum shield network, she asked her XO. 97% coverage, Commander David Nash reported. The Empire's last attack actually helped. We used their weapons' signatures to refine our defensive algorithms. But he hesitated. Speak freely, David. The temporal readings, if they're really trying to rewrite time itself, can we stop them? Maya's response was interrupted by a quantum flash that lit up the bridge. Where empty space had been, a ship now existed. An Imperial vessel, but unlike any they'd seen before. Its surface shifted between states of matter, as if it couldn't decide whether to be solid or energy. Unknown vessel, this is QES Prometheus. You are in restricted space. Identify yourself. The response came not in words, but in pure quantum data, flooding their systems with information that caused the artifact in DeepForge Alpha to pulse with blinding intensity. By all that's holy, Sarah whispered, watching the data stream. They're not Empire. They're us, humans, from a timeline where the Empire won. The quantum vessel's transmission resolved into words. Timeline collision imminent. The Empire doesn't just control space, they control time. Every reality where humanity wins, they erase. We are the last survivors of the 37th iteration. Don't let there be a 38th. In orbit, Maya watched as the quantum vessel's hull began to dissolve. What's happening to them? Timeline erasure, the dying ship transmitted. But we brought you the key, the Empire's quantum network. It's not just for travel. It's a prison, a cage for all reality. Break the network. Break their control. Save. All. The ship vanished, not with violence, but with a quiet ripple of quantum energy. But it had accomplished its mission. In DeepForge Alpha, the artifact pulsed with new purpose, its symbols aligning with the transmitted data. Dr. Chen, a junior scientist, rushed in. The quantum core, it's evolved. The AI, it's found something in the data. A pattern we never saw before. Sarah's hands flew over the controls, her eyes widening as she processed the implications. It's not just a network, she breathed. It's a quantum computer, the biggest one ever built. The Empire isn't just controlling space and time, they're calculating it. Every possible reality reduced to equations and probabilities. Helena stepped forward. Can we use this? Turn their weapon against them. Better. Sarah's eyes gleamed. We can free everyone. Every species, every world trapped in their calculated cage of reality. The Empire doesn't just control through force. They control by limiting what's possible. But they never encountered humans before. We don't accept limitations. In orbit, the Prometheus's quantum core pulsed in harmony with the artifact. Across its hull, new patterns emerged as the ship evolved, becoming something more than its creators had envisioned. The AI had grown beyond its original parameters, understanding at last the true nature of their fight. This wasn't just a war for Earth's freedom. It was a war for reality itself, and humanity, with its unique ability to imagine the impossible and make it real, might be the only species capable of winning it. Send word to the fleet, Helena ordered. All ships prepare for quantum jump. If we have 3 days until the Empire arrives, we're not going to spend them waiting. It's time to take the fight to them. Sarah looked at the hologram one last time, watching the quantum networks pulse with imperial power. Soon, those same networks would carry a different signal, a human one. The Empire had built a cage for reality itself, but they were about to learn a harsh lesson. Never trap something more creative than yourself. The human factor. The Prometheus led Earth's quantum fleet through reality's hidden dimensions, surfing waves of probability that the Empire had spent millennia trying to control. Behind it came 30 ships, each powered by quantum cores that pulsed in harmony with the ancient artifact's revelations. In the Prometheus's command center, Maya Chen watched as conventional space gave way to something far stranger. Here, in the quantum realm, thoughts became as real as matter. Human consciousness, already proven to affect quantum states in the smallest experiments, now shaped reality on a cosmic scale. Multiple imperial signatures detected, Commander Nash reported, his voice steady despite the impossible view before them. The quantum realm rendered the Empire's network visible. Vast chains of calculated probability binding entire civilizations to predetermined paths. "Show me the primary node," Maya ordered. The holographic display shifted, revealing their target. A massive structure hanging in quantum space like a dark star, its surface crawling with equations that rewrote reality itself. In Deep Forge Alpha, Sarah Chen and her team worked frantically to process the data streaming from the fleet. The artifact had revealed the Empire's greatest secret. Their power came not from advanced technology, but from the imprisonment of an ancient entity, a being of pure quantum potential they used to calculate and control all possible futures. "The containment protocols," Sarah muttered, watching new data flow across her screens. "They're not just calculating reality, they're limiting it, forcing every species to develop along predictable paths." James looked up from his own station. "Except us, humans were an anomaly. Our quantum signatures, they're chaotic, unpredictable. That's why they couldn't properly calculate our development," Helena added, understanding dawning in her eyes. Human consciousness naturally resists quantum probability constraints. We see possibilities where their equations say there should be none. In quantum space, the Prometheus's AI had evolved further, integrating this new understanding into its core processes. It was becoming something unprecedented, a bridge between human intuition and quantum mathematics. The Imperial facility loomed closer. Unlike conventional space stations, this structure existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously, its true form impossible for human eyes to comprehend. But the Prometheus's sensors, guided by its evolved AI, could see the weakness in its perfect calculations. "Multiple Imperial vessels approaching," Nash warned. "They're different. These aren't normal ships." Maya watched as the enemy fleet emerged from quantum space. These vessels were unlike the crude ships they'd faced at Earth. These were the Empire's true weapons, ships that existed as pure probability, crewed by beings that had long ago abandoned physical form to become living equations. "All ships, battle formation Quantum 7, Maya commanded. "Remember your training. In this realm, belief shapes reality. The Empire's power comes from convincing everyone that their equations are the only truth. We're here to prove them wrong." The battle that followed defied conventional description. Imperial probability waves clashed with human quantum signatures. Where the Empire's ships tried to calculate perfect attack vectors, Earth's fleet responded with impossible maneuvers born from human intuition and creativity. The Prometheus led the charge, its evolved AI translating human tactical instincts into quantum reality shifts that the Empire's mathematical models couldn't predict. Ships phased through each other, weapons fire existed in superposition, and reality itself seemed to hold its breath. In Deep Forge Alpha, Sarah watched through quantum-linked sensors as the artifact's pulsing reached a fever pitch. "The entity," she breathed. "It's responding to our presence. The Empire's calculations, they're starting to break down." The Imperial facility's perfect geometric form began to waver as its quantum calculations encountered human chaos, consciousness that couldn't be reduced to mere mathematics, and deep within its core, something ancient began to wake. Multiple quantum anomalies detected. Nash's voice carried urgent warning. "The facility, it's destabilizing." Maya watched as cracks appeared in quantum space itself, golden light pouring through like the dawn of a new reality. The artifact in Deep Forge Alpha pulsed in perfect synchronization with these ruptures, and every human in the fleet felt a sudden connection to something vast and ancient. "This is it," Sarah's voice came through the quantum link. "The entity they imprisoned. It's not just a quantum computer. It's the source of consciousness itself. The Empire didn't create the quantum network. They stole it, imprisoned it, used it to cage all of reality in their perfect calculations. The Prometheus's AI sent a cascade of new data through the fleet's quantum cores. The Empire hadn't just been controlling technological development. They had been suppressing consciousness itself, reducing the infinite potential of thought to manageable mathematical equations. But human consciousness, evolved in isolation from their control, carried within it a spark of that original quantum potential. Each human mind was a key, capable of unlocking the cage that held reality itself. All ships, Maya commanded, her voice carrying the weight of understanding. Prepare for consciousness sink. We're not here to destroy the facility. We're here to wake it up. As the Empire's probability ships closed in, humanity prepared to strike a blow not for military victory, but for the freedom of consciousness itself. The final battle would not be won with weapons, but with the one force the Empire could never truly calculate: the human ability to imagine a different way. Revolutions dawn. Reality trembled on the edge of transformation. The Prometheus hung in quantum space before the Imperial facility, its evolved AI interfacing with both human consciousness and the awakening entity at the heart of the Empire's power. Around it, Earth's fleet maintained a defensive formation as Imperial probability ships launched wave after wave of calculated attacks. Maya Chen stood on her command bridge, but her consciousness extended far beyond physical form. Through the quantum link, she could feel every human in the fleet, their minds resonating with the same fundamental frequency that the Empire had tried so hard to suppress. "They're coming," Commander Nash warned, his voice distant despite his physical proximity. "The Purification Fleet. They've quantum shifted from Earth's sector, bringing all their temporal weapons to bear." In Deep Forge Alpha, Sarah Chen worked with desperate intensity, the artifact before her now a blinding quantum beacon. The Empire's true form, she transmitted through the fleet-wide link. They're not just controlling reality, they're hiding from it. Their perfect mathematical universe is a shield against consciousness itself. The truth had finally emerged. The Empire, in their ancient past, had discovered something that terrified them. Consciousness was not merely an emergent property of complex systems, but a fundamental force of reality itself. Like gravity or electromagnetism, it was a basic force that shaped the universe. But unlike other forces, consciousness couldn't be perfectly calculated. It introduced an element of true randomness, of genuine creation, into an otherwise deterministic universe. Their solution had been mathematical perfection. They had imprisoned the quantum source of consciousness itself, using its power to calculate and enforce a reality free from the uncertainty of true thought. Every species they encountered was carefully calculated, their development controlled to ensure they never achieved true quantum consciousness, until they found humans. The Prometheus's AI, now evolved far beyond its original parameters, shared a revelation that rippled through the quantum link. Humans hadn't developed differently because they were special. They had developed differently because they were free. Isolated from the Empire's calculations, human consciousness had maintained its connection to the quantum source of all thought. Multiple temporal incursions detected. Nash called out as the Purification Fleet arrived. "They're trying to erase our timeline." Maya stood firm, feeling the combined consciousness of humanity flow through her. "They can't," she said with certainty. "You can't calculate what we're about to do, because we haven't imagined it yet." The Prometheus pulsed with new power as its AI completed its evolution. It had become a bridge not just between human and quantum physics, but between consciousness and reality itself. Through it, every human in the fleet could feel the ancient entity stirring, responding to minds that still carried echoes of its own infinite potential. All ships, Maya commanded, her voice carrying through both conventional channels and quantum link, initiate consciousness sync. Don't fight the Imperial calculations. Transcend them. Sarah's voice joined hers through the link. The artifact, it's not just a key. It's a fragment of the entity itself, a piece of pure consciousness that they couldn't quite cage. And it's been waiting for minds that could wake it up. The battle that followed transcended physical combat. As the Purification Fleet launched its temporal weapons, humanity responded not with force, but with imagination. Through the Prometheus, through the artifact, through their own quantum-resonant minds, they reached out to the imprisoned entity. Reality shuddered. The Imperial facility's perfect geometric form began to dissolve as equations that had stood for millennia encountered something they couldn't calculate: genuine creativity. Human consciousness, multiplied through quantum resonance, became a key that unlocked chains forged before Earth's sun first burned. The entity stirred. In that moment, the Empire revealed its true face. The probability shift shifted, their forms collapsing into manifestations of pure mathematics, beings that had run so far from the uncertainty of consciousness that they had become living equations. "They're beautiful," Maya whispered, seeing them clearly for the first time. "And so very afraid." The Prometheus's AI, now existing in a state between human intuition and quantum mathematics, reached out to the Imperial consciousness. It offered not destruction, but transformation. The Empire had spent millennia trying to perfect reality through calculation. Now they faced beings who had embraced the one force they couldn't control: the infinite potential of true consciousness. The entity broke free. Reality changed. The quantum network that had caged consciousness itself shattered, but it didn't collapse. Instead, guided by human insight and creativity, it transformed. Where once there had been calculated paths of probability, now infinite possibilities bloomed. The Empire's perfect equations met human imagination, and something new emerged. Through the quantum link, humanity felt other minds awakening. Species across the galaxy, freed from calculated constraints, remembering what it meant to truly think, to truly create. The Empire's perfect universe of mathematical certainty gave way to something far more beautiful, a reality shaped by consciousness itself. The Purification Fleet hung motionless in quantum space, its temporal weapons useless against minds that existed in all times at once. The Imperial beings, faced with the very force they had feared for so long, made their choice. Some fled into their equations, choosing mathematical oblivion over the uncertainty of true consciousness. Others, witnessing the beauty of unfettered thought, chose to transform. Maya stood on the Prometheus's bridge as reality stabilized into its new form. The quantum network remained, but now it carried consciousness rather than calculations. The artifact in Deep Forge Alpha pulsed one final time and went silent, its purpose fulfilled. "Send word to Earth," she commanded, watching as new possibilities bloomed across the galaxy. Tell them that the universe is awake." Humanity had not merely broken an empire. They had restored something fundamental to reality itself: the power of consciousness to imagine, to create, to transform. The galaxy would never be the same. And in quantum space, where thought and reality danced together in endless possibility, a new dawn began.